First of all, it's a great day to be a Razorback, as it is every day. And I want to thank our fans for showing up and creating an environment last Saturday from hog walk through the end of the game. And the electric environment that they brought was felt from the time we got off the bus. And we appreciate that. There's a lot of things going on Saturday, and for our players to come out there and to see that environment was special. So thank you. I want to give credit to Portland State. Those guys, as we knew they would, they had a good plan. They played hard and they fought to the end, and we knew they had nothing to lose, and that we were going to get their best shot. But after reviewing the film, I will say this: our guys played extremely hard. I'm very proud of how hard our guys played and the great effort that they gave the entire game in all phases, offense, defense, and special teams. I was disappointed in some of the lack of execution of drop balls that ended drives for us on offense. And from a defensive side, lack of execution and that extended drives for them. And so that was disappointing after watching the film. I felt that after the game, and just watching the film confirmed that. Offensively, we had 11 possessions. We had 4 10-play drives or more, it was really good. We had 4 drops, and of those 4 drops, 2 were key third down drops. We had momentum, and we were moving the ball down the field, and to have 2 drops on third down was tough. Our focus for game 1 was executing our base offense and running the football. We were very basic by design for a few reasons. One of those being week 1 and a lot of unknowns, and 2 was some of the scheme and the way that they aligned. There was some uncertainty and some of the things and how they could play us on the back end of things. So by design, we were vanilla. And especially knowing going into a conference opener this next week. So we had a chance to pull away and get a little bit more of a comfortable lead in the first half. Right before half, and come away with points, had a chance to get 10 points, if not 14 points, 2 touchdowns in less than 2 minutes, and we came up with none. We got down in the red zone, and we had an interception on a ball that I know Nick wished he had back. And we mismanaged the clock, and I took full responsibility for that after the game, and we'll get that cleared up. Our player of the game was Rakeem Boyd, offensively, rushed for 114 yards. We had, as you watch college football week 1, and you see all the pre-snap penalties that occur across the country, we didn't have not one pre-snap penalty, which was a credit to our players. I thought we ran the ball well, not great, but well. And we left a lot out on the field. We got a lot to clean up on our technique, and we got to maximize the opportunities when we're given the chances. But we got to perform better this week, and we got to finish. From a defensive standpoint, our players of the game were Cam Curl and Sosa. Both of these young men played about as well as I've seen these guys play since we've been here. Defensively, we played extremely hard. We swarmed to the football. We looked faster. We were physical. And had it not been for their quarterback making some plays, we could have minimized a lot of their offensive yards and drives that were continuing. But the quarterback was the difference for him. Some of it was he just made some great plays. And hats off, he was gritty. He was tough. He extended drives. But the majority was on technique issues that broke down. As I mentioned earlier, the lack of execution. We lost contain. We let him get in some run lanes on us. But these are things that got to be corrected and will be corrected. But we created 3 turnovers, led to 7 points. I was disappointed that we didn't create more, especially as loose as he was carrying the football when he was scrambling. We didn't get a ball out. We didn't have a penalty on defense until the second to the last drive of the game, and then we had just a slew of them, and which was disappointing. It was a lack of focus. We had some guys that were getting in there, and some of them were getting in there that it was their first time to get in, and they jumped off sides. And so we were being drawn off sides, but we got to get that cleaned up. It kept their drive going, allowed them to make a heck of a play on 4th down and throw a ball up and get a touchdown out of it and make the game really interesting right there at the end. So that's got to get cleaned up and will. Special teams, our player of the game was Sam Loy. I thought he was a weapon as far as his sky punts. As I mentioned after the game, this is an area that was much improved. It was very apparent on the field, on the sidelines. Our guys were more confident, and that was clearly seen. Our guys played faster. They understand our plan. But we got a lot to coach and improve on. We had a penalty on special teams right off to start the game, which led to giving them 15 extra yards, which they ended in a field goal. We had the ball hitting the ground on a kickoff return, and then we didn't down 2 punts inside the 5 that would have been forced them to go longer in the field position. But those are things that are correctable. Our guys understand that. They were back in here last night and had great energy, excited about this opportunity we got ahead of us. But moving forward, we got a lot of work to be that has to be done, that we got to improve on. We got to get better, and we got a big opportunity this week for our program as we travel on the road to Ole Miss in a conference opener. And our players will respond, and we look forward to this great challenge. We've got some injury updates that I want to update you on. Dorian Gerald strained an artery in his neck in the second quarter. Very strange injury. Will be on blood thinner, and will be out the rest of the year. And we hope that he'll be released from the hospital tomorrow, late tonight or tomorrow. So that was we spent some time there Saturday night and then Sunday in hospital with Dorian and his family, and credit Dave and our training staff and our doctors for being spot on and on point with everything. So outside of that, Austin Capps, we anticipate him being back. Jamario Bell, we'll anticipate him being back. C.J. O'Grady is back. Just flipping the page to Ole Miss, just a tough road game for them. They got 4 offensive starters, 5 defensive starters back, 2 brand new coordinators, 2 new schemes. Yes, they made mistakes just like we did, but I know this. They scored their points in the second half. They were figuring it out in the second half. They'll be much improved from week 1 to week 2, just like we will be. But we've got a big challenge ahead for us, and we just got to focus on ourselves and getting better. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Just as you start Jamario Bell then and said tackle, since you're a man down at the end.
Yeah, no, so stay at tackle, and depending on where Jamario is, we'll see on that. But we anticipate him being in there. So just means that we'll have to bring another freshman in.
Hey, Chad, you mentioned Gerald that he won't play the rest of the year. Has there been any discussion yet on whether this is the end of his football career?
Well, I think we're a little early for that. I think that it will not be something that we'll know for quite some time. I think that we're several months away from knowing that, as tests will continue to be ran. But he does have a red shirt opportunity, and we will definitely exercise that.
Did you let the injury happen?
No, not really. There was nothing that showed up as far as a hit, whether it be a concussion type. There was none of that. It could have been as easy as your neck getting strained in a certain way. We don't know. It just kind of puzzled us all. It was very frightening, but it was very strange.
Yeah, Chad, as tough as that is for Dorian, you guys that he's out, how big a relief is it that something, tragic didn't happen and that they figured it out and that he's I assume he's going to be okay. And then kind of follow up, what does that do to your defensive end depth? Is there a chance Eric Gregory might be able to be back this week?
Well, back on Dorian, I think that man, I want to commend our doctors and Dave and our training staff for taking quick action on the sidelines and how they handled that situation with him. Was spot on. It was we're very fortunate, and so those things are always tough and to deal with, but it was the way our medical team handled it was first class and right on point. So good news is he's going to be okay. We're going to get him back, and he's on the road to recovery. So. As far as our depth at defensive end, yes, Eric Gregory. Eric practiced some last week. We'll practice more this week. Colin Clay will be in the mix as well. Zach Williams is in the mix. I mean, so there's a lot of there's a lot of moving parts there with that.
Chad, you mentioned execution and stuff. I was wondering what your thoughts were on play calling and just how that works between you and Joe, because you mentioned taking a more active role in the offseason and that. Like, how do you guys discuss the plays that are called, and also the 1st and 5 when you guys were down at the 9-yard line? Just are you happy with the way that turned out in terms of called plays, or was it execution?
Well, you always look back and say, man, I wish we would have done this or wish we would have done that. But and that's every game. We wanted to be a little bit more aggressive down the field, but there was a lot of times it was what they were giving us, and it caused us to get the ball down and check down. I think that continuing drives, and getting in a situation, not putting yourself in those 3rd down situations, would benefit us. A lot of it was there was some breakdowns, whether it was again we had 2 drop balls on 2 key 3rd downs. We have another ball out in the flats, that great ball, and we slip and fall. But those things, just first game, a lot. But I will say this: a lot of it was we were going to go and execute our base offense and be simple, and especially going into our conference opener. There's a lot of things we didn't want to show, and that was by design. And so our communication with Joe and I've taken a more active role. Joe and I are communicating through every play, and so that'll continue this week as we continue to open this season up.
Chad, a little deeper on that. What did you think of just the mesh between Ben and the receivers? Were they on the same page quite often? And then just the execution of the offense. What did you think?
Well, like I said, I didn't think we executed as well that we wanted to. Now, again, I'm going to go back again. A lot of it had to do with the fact that we had 4 10-play plus drives. That's pretty good right there. We had 2 others, I believe, that were 6+ play drives. It ended with a 3rd down stop that we shot ourselves in the foot on. So those things, continue to get in a rhythm, getting in a groove. You had 11 possessions, which you're limited there. You normally want to have somewhere 13 to 14 possessions, but that happens at times. So, but I did think that I thought a few of the balls were in the radius of a receiver that you would hope that we could make those catches. But when you put young guys out there in the first game, things are going to happen. We're not disappointed in those guys for dropping the ball. They're going to make those catches. They've made them 1,000 times at practice. You wish that you had a guy that could throw the perfect ball every time, but that's not going to happen. We got to make sure that when that's in that catch radius, we got to make the catch, and that'll come.
The grass looked great. How was it? How did it play?
It was phenomenal. I know our players were really complimentary of it. Much cooler, and so that was good.
What's the adjustment for these freshman receivers? I know that at least one time we saw where on one of those deep throws, Traylon probably should have set in where the zone defense was. I mean, just trying to figure all that in game atmosphere whenever you're not doing it in practice?
Well, you're probably referring to the one that we're going into our locker room in. No, actually, Trey was not supposed to set that down. Trey's got to continue his climb. We've got to, we can't force a ball in some areas. Again, the ball was behind him. That was not in his catch radius. That was just a bad ball. And we should have got the ball to our check down on that. But that happens. And, again, it's first game with these guys, and you deal with mistakes.
You mentioned there were some drops on Saturday. How important? There was 4 drops on Saturday. How important is it to get CJ Grady back?
Well, I think CJ brings another dimension to our team. And we all know what he's capable of doing. We know what he did last year, and he's very talented. He's a playmaker. We target our tight ends a lot, and he's a guy that can make some plays for us. I thought Grayson Gunner made a couple good plays for us as well, and so I know Chase wish he'd have had a couple of those balls back, but blocked exceptionally well. And had a big third down catch across the middle. So,
a big day for Rakeem Boyd. What's your evaluation of his performance, and what are your expectations against a conference opponent?
Well, Rakeem is stronger, and he's more physical than he's been. I thought that as the game went on, he got more comfortable and seeing it. Again, a guy that did not go through spring ball, went through fall camp, and I just think the more reps, the more opportunities he gets, as you saw, the better he's going to get. And so I know he wishes that this game a year ago, when he didn't get to finish it, was something that he's kind of said that was disappointing to him that he didn't get to go back in. So he'll be ready to go, as all our guys will be.
I got 2 things here, Chad. 2 players. How close is Jordan Jones getting to coming back? And it looked like Soley might have hurt his hand. And then also the Ole Miss defense. What differences do you see from last year to this year with those guys?
We think Jordan will be back probably in a couple of weeks. We'll reevaluate it this week and talk to our training staff and see where they're at with that with Jordan. But hopefully a couple of weeks. He's getting closer. Solely, he had. I think he's going to have a cast on his hand. I think he had a fracture in his hand, so he'll play this week. He's got a cast. He was out there practicing yesterday. Don't anticipate him missing any playing time at all. And then from an Ole Miss defense, Coach, Mike McIntyre is known Mike for quite some time. I consider him a really good football coach. Watching them play and studying the film, those guys played exceptionally hard. They're very sound, and they played physical. And so these guys were much improved from where we saw them a year ago.
Chad, have you ever faced McIntyre, like either as a coordinator or on where he's been on the other side of the ball?
No, I haven't.
You guys just know each other from coaching trail and stuff,
right?
And then with Dorian, not Dorian, but Rakeem, he got in kind of late last year, right before camp, and it took him a little while to get going. How much farther ahead do you think he is? And how tough was that last year? Because he had like 100-some yards in the first quarter, and then you got to wonder what would have happened if he hadn't gotten knocked out of the game, I would think.
Well, again, he's a lot more comfortable with the system. It was good. We were really pressing the run game Saturday to try to get him into a groove. And it was good to see him as the game went on to kind of get into a rhythm. So I just think he's more comfortable. I think he's stronger. I think he's more physical. Running the ball, has a better understanding of what we're asking of him. And so I do. I think that, had he not gone out last year, I think he was on track to have a career night.
Chad, to me, it looked like the offensive line played solid. I was curious your impressions on them. And I know Harold had some drops, but I don't know that you guys had the running day that you had without him also.
No, you're right. And I want to go back to Chase Harrell, very physical blocker. Was made his presence known in the block in our run game. So that was a big plus for us. We knew that. We knew he was a physical player, but to see him take that on the game field was good. I think that with, what was you asked?
The offensive line.
Yeah, our offensive line. Yeah, I thought that we played well. We did. There was some things that we've got to do better. We got to we got to get up to the second level a little better. I think that we did a good job of covering them up. Want to get a little bit more knockback, play a little bit lower, but overall, I mean, they played well. They did, but they, like everyone else, knows we got to improve. Thought we protected our quarterback well, very well.
Just kind of what problems does Benito Jones, the Ole Miss nose tackle, present?
Yeah, he's very disruptive. He was disruptive Saturday against Memphis. A guy that's he's a two-gap player. You got to account for him, and so someone definitely that we'll have to account for. As is the Robinson, number 38. He's another outstanding football player. Lakia Henry, a young man that had 7 tackles, played very fast and physical. And then they again they're very sound in what they do.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.